Trying to convey within that is that a lot of vernacular architecture is very expedient. It it responds to local climates. It uses local materials. And is there an architecture which comes out of actually analysing the carbon impact of both the way the buildings are designed, the materials that are used, that in effect produces a vernacular, but it's not necessarily a sentimental vernacular, rather one that's rooted in the environmental performance of buildings and the resources that you use to make those buildings. And actually enjoying the expedience, as I said, the efficiency, the restraint of many historical buildings where resources were much less readily available. And in some senses, I think it was a point that one of the other speakers made, that it's only really through cheap fossil fuels that we've been able to transport materials very long distances, that we've been able to use buildings very inefficiently. If we're just a little bit more efficient in the way that we go about procuring and designing buildings, then maybe we get a slightly different architectural language out of it. I think it might mean that you get something where buildings end up being slightly different dependent on where they are. So it's not anti-globalization. There's a lot in the globalized technologies, the really high technologies that you can move around the entire planet, and they're still efficient, they're still worthwhile. But that you get buildings that are maybe slightly more rooted in where they're from. They contain technology, but the actual base building, the container rather than the content, is maybe slightly more localized, slightly more rooted, both in the materials that are locally available and in the climate that you're within and responding to those. And part of that as well is just from buildings use the least energy when people are comfortable. We use energy to compensate for discomfort, by and large. More light, more ventilation, more heat, etc. If we're comfortable, if we're sat outside under a shady tree on a nice sunny day, we use no energy at all. So if we can get closer to that, we will reduce the amount of resources that we're using.